All right, man, peace. So for those of you brothers who've been on my channel long enough, you know where I stand when it comes to Mr. Carmelo Anthony. I think that at one time in his career, he was a great half-court scorer. He's never been a great player. And due to his lack of self-awareness, I think that it has cost him in regards to the actual winning that he could have done in his career. Now he's 33 years old. His play has dropped off precipitously. And once again, true to form, he still does not understand where he is in his career. And I think that it's going to jump up and bite him again with the Houston Rockets. Because eventually, especially if this team does not come together as soon as they need to, because they do have championship aspirations, he's going to be the fall guy. I have no doubt about that. As I'm filming this, they're just coming off of a blowout loss to the New Orleans Pelicans. And I'm telling you, they are going to blame Carmelo Anthony. He's already starting to rumble in regards to his assertion that coming off of the bench is quote unquote mentally challenging. So anyway, Miss Rachel Nichols sat down with Carmelo Anthony for a tell-all. And let's see what they have to say. Of course, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
But first, Carmelo Anthony is one of those players who everybody has an opinion on, right? Whether it's how things ended with the Knicks, how things went with the Thunder, how he left the Thunder, how he joined the Rockets, and of course, whether he's really going to be okay coming off the bench. So how about...
Well, we know that he's not going to be okay coming off the bench. He's just putting up a big front right now because he's on a team that has championship aspirations and came within one game of getting to the NBA Finals. So he knows he cannot upset the apple cart right now. He knows that. Hopefully he understands that he's just along for the ride. So there's not much really that he can say. But is Carmelo Anthony one of those players who acts as a quote-unquote lightning rod? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because he came into the NBA in the same draft class as LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade. 3 players who have all won championships, and then on top of that, won championships together. So it looks bad on his part that he's the only one of that crew who never won. And what makes it look even worse is that he was supposed to be in Chris Bosh's role on the Miami Heat.
How about, I don't know, actually hearing from Melo? This is his first sit-down since joining Houston. Take a listen.
This broad gets all the exclusives.
Okay, so it took an extra season from what you initially expected, but you are a Houston Rocket now, right? How does it feel now that you're actually here and about to start playing for real?
It feels natural, like a natural fit. But just all the guys on the team, they make you feel so welcome, and you know that the transition was so smooth.
I know last year you had your own good experience.
How can he say that the transition was so smooth and they have not played one game yet? Or at least at the time of this interview, they had not played one game yet. You have no idea how smooth the transition is going to be, especially since you're going into your 16th season, and all you've known for your entire career is taking 18-foot jump shots going one-on-one. And that is not how they play. They do go one-on-one, but you have to be able to beat your man to the basket. Can you still do that? Can you make that wide open 3-point shot? When they play you, are you going to be able to play even a modicum of defense? That's what's going to tell whether or not the transition will be smooth or not.
Experience there. I know you guys thought you had a shot at winning and doing well. When you look back on that year, how would you describe it?
It should be eye-opening. That should be how you describe it, but I'm sure that that's not how you're going to describe it because once again, brother, no disrespect, you have a lack of self-awareness and it's hurt you for your whole career.
I think challenging a little bit. You know, of course we had our good times and we had our down times, but for the most part, like, you know, people might think different, but I actually had a great time in OKC.
Stop lying.
You know, just I think being so close with Russ and PG and then all the other guys on the team, and the organization was very helpful in trying to make the transition smoothly.
So tell me about...
No, they were trying to help you make that transition to the bench.
Tell me about that transition, though. How did things go down over the summer after the season? Did you come to them? Did they come to you?
No, we exit meetings, we had a real conversation.
Yeah, you had a real conversation with Billy Donovan and the GM probably, and they said, Melo, we want you to come off the bench if you're going to come back, because they knew that that would make you demand a trade or to be released. That's what happened.
I had a real conversation with Coach Donovan, and they told me they was looking in another direction. And
exactly. They were looking in another direction because they wanted you off the team. They said if you want to stay, you have to come off the bench. They knew that you were going to explode at the very notion of coming off the bench. So that would give them the exit that they needed.
I know how the game works. I saw through it, and it was very honest conversation that I've had with them.
In other words, you tried to flip out on them.
It just didn't work out. I mean, in life, everything don't work out. So
I agree with that.
That's the way that I looked at it. I didn't leave with no bad blood.
It's got to help when you land the next place, the place that you feel so comfortable. I loved, even in the trip down to the Bahamas you guys took before the season started. Yeah. You're in there. You guys seem like you've got great chemistry. The little clips and video we saw. You, of course, stayed on brand with their hoodie on the 90-degree beach.
Very hot.
Bullshit. The reason why you wore that hoodie is because you're out of shape, you're about 15 pounds overweight, and you did not want anybody seeing your belly. Because you understood that will become a running gag on the internet. Carmelo Anthony is not serious about winning because look at how out of shape he is. That's why your ass was on the beach wearing a damn hoodie.
In the Bahamas.
And so why are you wearing a hoodie on the beach?
I actually felt cooler with the hoodie in the heat.
Now what type of nonsense is that? You feel cooler with a hoodie on out there on the beach.
Having no shirt on the beach, that's how hard it was.
And I'm sure you guys have talked a little bit about the player you want to be here. Everyone says they need you to be Olympic Melo.
When you have 12 of the best players on one team in the world, it's easier to be Olympic Melo.
I'm glad that you're saying that because when I say it, supposedly I'm a quote-unquote hater to your fanboys that come on my channel. I have no idea why people cannot grasp that. Carmelo Anthony is perfect on the Olympic team because all they ask him to do is take wide open 17-foot jump shots. That's about all he can do in the NBA right now.
When it comes down to the tedious season and the nuances of putting a team together and figuring out what your role is going to be.
And actually having to be a part of a team, yeah, that's what makes it tedious, Carmelo.
And just really understanding kind of what they need me to bring to this team. And every game,
they need you to bring efficiency and proficiency. Two things that you have not brought for the last 5 or 6 years, brother. I'm just being real with you. I'm sure that many of his fanboys are going to say, oh, why do you hate Carmelo? Why are you hating on Carmelo? I have nothing against Carmelo Anthony. I'm just calling a spade a spade. As simple as that.
Every game will be different. It's a long season, and that's something that that experience that I had in OKC would definitely help me with this challenge, with this experience.
In other words, OKC humbled you to the point where you said to yourself, I'm willing to play the good guy on the team as long as the team is on the verge of winning a championship. The Houston Rockets are perfect for me because they have not won. They're on the verge of possibly winning. And also one of my best friends is on the squad. If I had tried to run to Golden State for the minimum, it would have looked like I was just championship chasing. At least I can sign with the Rockets, and it does not look exactly like I'm championship chasing.
You did say in Oklahoma City last year, publicly at a press conference, I do not want to come off the bench. This is not something I'm interested in. Has that changed?
Well, I don't think that would never change. That will always be kind of mindset because I know what I can bring and I know what I still can do and what I still have.
Well, brother, look, let's be for real. Patrick Ewing, Hakeem Olajuwon, even the great Michael Jordan came off the bench his last year in the NBA. Now, of course, Michael Jordan was 40 years old, but at 40 years old, he was in better shape than you are right now. I guarantee you that. Michael Jordan's body fat percentage was lower as a 40-year-old than Carmelo Anthony's is right now. I promise you that. As a matter of fact, his body fat percentage was probably half of what Carmelo's is right now. And Hakeem Olajuwon's probably was as well. So I don't think that Carmelo quite understands that even though he's only 33, he's been in the league for 15 years, he has a lot of mileage on his body, and he's never been one to keep himself in great shape.
My confidence from that standpoint, I always have to say, I don't want to come up against. But knowing that ahead of time and having those conversations and going game to game and understanding, okay, we might need you to do this tonight. We might need you to do that tonight. I have a clearer understanding of what my role is.
Do you feel like if they...
Bro, please stop. You could have had that same clear understanding with the OKC Thunder, but you felt like they had no chance of winning a championship. You feel like the Rockets have a much better chance of winning a championship, so you're willing to play a role on that team that you were not willing to play on the Thunder.
If they ask you to come off the bench on a certain night, or if they don't want to close a game with you on a certain night, you can live with that?
Yeah, because I don't know. I would have to live with it. That's something I would have to get used to if that was to happen. But the biggest thing for me is just communicate that with me. you know, if it's a group of guys out there that's playing well, coming down the stretch, then Melo, we gonna roll with them. I'm cool with that. I mean,
all bullshit, brother. No disrespect, but you're bullshitting right now. Last year in the playoffs, when OKC played the Utah Jazz and Billy Donovan sat your ass on the bench, you spent the whole time there bitching and complaining because you were not out there on the floor and you were not helping anybody. You were not playing well, you were not shooting well, and you damn sure were not defending well. And in the first game of the season that I saw you last night against New Orleans, you had that same deer in headlights look that you have on defense where you don't know where to go or who to cover.
I mean, of course I want to be out there, but just communicate that with me. That's the only thing I ask.
Did you and Coach?
No, you don't. What you ask is to start. But, you know, you can't ask that on the Rockets.
You and Coach DAntoni have to have a moment before you agreed to come here, sort of working out what had happened in New York.
Yeah, but, you know, that situation in New York was, like, it happened so fast. So I think now we got an opportunity to just lay it all out on the table.
Look, I don't completely blame Carmelo Anthony for that situation in New York. He was put under some mitigating circumstances with that whole Jeremy Lin situation, as well as the fact that the D'Antoni system did not fit him. As a matter of fact, there are not too many systems in the NBA right now that fit Carmelo Anthony's style of play. The difference is that Carmelo Anthony's status in the league has depreciated so much that D'Antoni knows that he has him by the balls. So all he has to do is act as if he's going to placate himself to Carmelo for the sake of team camaraderie. But he knows he could sit Carmelo Anthony's ass down on the bench whenever he wants, which is what he wanted to do with the Knicks. He never wanted Carmelo on the Knicks in the first place. But James Dolan wanted to pull the trigger on that deal to bring star power to New York. D'Antoni never, ever wanted Carmelo Anthony on the Knicks. He really does not want him on the Rockets. But he does not want to make waves with Chris Paul. So to appease Chris Paul, he allowed Carmelo to come onto the team, basically signing for the veterans minimum. And he knows now he could do with him whatever he wants.
You know, we talked a long time about kind of where we was at as people, as a player, as a coach at that point in time, the journey from then till now, where we at now, and how we're able to just kind of put that behind us. And, you know, he said something to me like, you know, everybody deserves a second chance. So I hope you give me a second chance. And it was just good.
That's very smart of D'Antoni to make himself out to be the person with lesser power. And it even tells you that in Sun Tzu. He states, when you're strong, appear weak. When you're weak, appear strong. D'Antoni knows that he's strong. So he can play the weak one. Because he knows that whenever he wants, he can sit Carmelo Anthony's ass down on the bench. And if Carmelo dares to complain about it, all D'Antoni has to say is, we're going to go with what works. Because we got to within one game of the finals last year without him. This is a player in Carmelo Anthony who has been to the Western Conference Finals one time in his entire career. So what is he talking about?
Just good to hear kind of how energetic he was about having me here and being a part of this.
Now, look, back in college, March Madness, you won the whole thing with Syracuse. You got all those Olympic gold medals.
Yeah.
But for you, for everyone else, you're already a Hall of Famer. For you, how important is it that you have better postseason success, that you get to that high, maybe championship level in the NBA?
Well, that's the goal. I mean, I know everybody talks about that's the goal, but this is a very unique and special opportunity for me as an individual, like to be a part of a team who's already had some success, to know that you have a group of guys who was almost there, who smelled it, who you know, who had their hands right there, and for me to come in and be a part of that, like that gives me a different focus and a different motivation.
Exactly, that's the point. The point is that you're on a better team right now, so you're willing to take a lesser role. You know that you cannot rock the boat here. To be quite frank with you, if you're Carmelo Anthony, you should be looking at yourself like Bill Walton did on the 1986 Celtics. That's how you should be viewing yourself. You can still be an integral piece if you're willing to exert a lot more energy on defense and provide a punch on offense, and they will still remember you. They'll remember you. Now, you had Gary Payton on the Miami Heat. Very few people remember that he was on that team, but he did make a crucial shot in that series. You also had Mitch Richmond on the Lakers, I believe, in 2001. These are all Hall of Famers who were able to win championships in a lesser role. So was Carmelo Anthony willing to be remembered in that same way? And if he were to win a championship with the Rockets, he would be remembered far more fondly and far more vibrantly than those other players, because the media is always talking about Carmelo.
See, when it's all over, they're not going to say, oh, well, we loved Olympic Melo. Maybe they'll say we loved Houston Melo.
Yeah, I mean, it went from loving Syracuse Melo to loving Denver Melo with the braids to Olympic Melo,
right.
Hoodie Melo, so hopefully Rocket Melo.
This man is so delusional.
Carmelo Anthony has started not just some, not just most, but every single game in his NBA and college career.
Well, that streak came to an end in game 1 of this season, I tell you that.
So, listening to Melo there, Tracy, are you walking away from that interview thinking that if Coach D'Antoni says to him, not on some nights, but on every night, you're in the second unit, is that going to work out?
You can hear he's kind of uneasy at the whole coming off the bench conversation. I mean, he hasn't quite embraced that. But getting from this interview, I think if Mike D'Antoni is frank with him, have these conversations of what he needs to do, because Melo understands it's now or never for me to win a championship. This is first chance of contending for a title,
right.
And
he has to understand I have to sacrifice in order for this team to excel to what we're trying to achieve.
Well, he knows that, Tracy. That's the whole point of this interview. It's him trying to put everybody's mind at ease. I don't want to be the fall guy, even though I suspect he will, because I suspect that the Rockets will not be as good this year as they were last year.
I think if Coach D'Antoni is frank with him on what he needs, he's going to do whatever he has to do to make it work.
I'm more concerned that he said he was cooler on the beach wearing a hoodie. I don't know if I can trust anything he says after that.
Thank you, sir. It's very obvious that the reason why Carmelo Anthony had that hoodie on is because he's self-conscious about his physique. He knows that one of the running narratives is that he did not take proper care of himself, and he did not want to show his midsection.
That doesn't make any sense. I can't get by that. How is that possible?
The sun block.
It's not possible.
Sun blocks. I mean, the hoodie and this sweatshirt.
It's a.
Stop it, Tracy. I know that's your boy. You trying to fend for him. You went to Qatar with Melo and Klay Thompson and Luke Walton, so I know you're trying to stand up for him. But stop it. You know what the deal is, Tracy.
It's a hoodie. Anyway, the way you sell it is like if you come off the bench, which I think they want. I think they want him to come off the bench, and I bet he will for a significant part of the season. You say, okay, Melo, you get to play with only one of CP and James Harden instead of both, and that means like maybe you can do a little more Melo stuff. If there's only one other star out there, you can do some Melo stuff. He's going to fit fine there. It's pretty easy to play next to two guys who do all the heavy lifting and give you.
Well, we'll see how fine he fits, because as of right now, it seems as though they have an issue with their defense.
If you kick out threes, the question is just always going to be, can he survive defensively against Golden State? And
Well, we already know the answer to that, Zach Lowe. We know the answer to that is a resounding no.
I just don't think he can.
Well,
Players who've never played defense for 15 years, they don't all of a sudden become defensive stoppers in year 16, especially when you have feet as slow as his.
I mean, the second unit issue, that's also, look, he's not going always against the best defensive players also if you're in the second unit. That helps. That's a good point, Tracy. This is the best team overall he's ever been on outside of the Olympics, right? So
absolutely. He should embrace.
That 2013 Knicks team was pretty good. I'm not sure if they're quite as good as this team, but the 2013 Knicks were pretty good. Had Carmelo Anthony been a player with a higher basketball IQ, they could have and really should have beaten the Pacers.
This role, whether it's coming off the bench starting, I just think this is a great opportunity for him. You look back, in his draft, 3 of the top 5 guys have won multiple championships.
Right.
LeBron, D-Wade.
That's what's making him look bad.
D-Wade, Chris Bosh. I mean, it's time for Melo to try to get some jewelry.
not throwing Darko in there?
Come on now. No Darko!
One of the all-time great what-ifs. What if the Pistons took Carmelo Anthony?
Yes.
I agree. That is one of the all-time great what-ifs. Because if the Pistons draft Carmelo Anthony, his career is viewed completely different. And the Pistons are probably a completely different team. They most likely win 2 straight championships because in 2005, he would have given them the offensive punch that they needed to beat the Spurs. I mean, presumably.
He has a ring, so yeah, there you go. I do think that what I liked about this conversation is that Melo was so honest, and I think that he gets credit for showing you this is not a black and white decision. It's not the kind of thing where it's like, okay, I wasn't okay with it, now I am okay with it. It's a process.
Oh, it's
right?
Trust me, when I had to...
I'm sure that it is traumatic, especially for a player who considers himself a star, and that's part of the problem. He's not quite accepting that he's not what he once was. It's kind of like the 40-year-old chick who's still trying to wear spandex. You know, it's like there's certain things sagging that were not sagging 10 years ago.
To come off the bench, considering where I was in my career and then coming off the bench, it's a tough adjustment. You know, this guy was a bona fide superstar in our league, one of the purest scorers to play in our league. And for him to, you know, have talks of coming off the bench, it's tough. I mean, it's just not an overnight thing. It's a tough adjustment.
Well, I do want to get to the Golden State Warriors.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. We'll see where this Carmelo Anthony narrative goes. I tell you, the NBA, man, they have so many storylines. It's unbelievable. So peace.